Wait, who's handing out beetles to the trick-or-treaters? Here's your spooky spot on the loyal subject's best action Beetlejuice figure. Seemingly fun, Beetlejuice is a trickster and mischievous ghost. Rude and crude, he loves to scare people and pull pranks on them. Beetlejuice is always on the lookout for a quick snack of insects, including flies and beetles. Despite his malicious nature, he occasionally directs his chaos toward other evil for the benefit of good people, such as Lydia. Ooh, before we get a closer look at the best action figure of Beetlejuice, it's actually BST, AXN, best action figure of Beetlejuice from the folks over at Loyal Subjects, let's actually first grab the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. Taking it right to the very top, he's emitting quite of a smell. The figure stands about 5 inches in height. He's actually just a little less than 5 inches, and that works out to be a figure that's roughly 12 centimeters tall. I ended up picking up the Ghostess with the Mostess over on Entertainment Earth's website. If you guys are interested and would like to get Beetlejuice for yourself, you can click the link down below in the video description. I'm going to get out of the way the obvious point already. Beetlejuice is all the wrong color. In fact, instead of actually being that soft violet purple that he's in the cartoon, for some reason, Loyal Subjects decided to mold this guy in pink plastic, and it's way too bright. He also comes with questionable accessories, if you ask me. A top hat, a yellow bottle, and a cane. Perhaps not the things I would have considered to come include with Beetlejuice, but we'll talk more about that in a second. The figure also comes with one other thing, Ginger the Tap Dancing Spider, who isn't wrong. I mean, she is part of one of the characters from the Beetlejuice cartoon from back in the day from Nelvana. But I do have to draw your attention to the back of the packaging here. On the back, you'll notice the very same accessories, the hands, the beetle, top hat, yeah, yellow bottle, sure, and the cane. But you'll notice just off to the corner here, let me just slide a little bit closer to the figure so you can see it. Nowhere found is Ginger the Tap Dancing Spider. In fact, what is there instead is a small baby sandworm. It would have to be baby for the size that was. If I'm looking at it scaled to the hands and the top hat, that's a pretty small sandworm. But for some reason or another, they decided not to include a sandworm, but instead Ginger the Tap Dancing Spider. I guess it makes the more sense. I mean, if I wanted to get a sandworm, I would want one that's a very oversized sandworm. I don't know if they would ever do one down the road, but yeah, maybe Ginger was the best way to go, so I'm guessing that this packaging was made well into actually production of the figure, and they just decided to stick with it. Other than the little mistake there on the back of the packaging, let's move that out of the way and get actually a closer look here at Ginger the Tap Dancing Spider. Certainly, again, one of the characters that were in the original Nelvana Beetlejuice cartoon. I loved Beetlejuice, the cartoon. And now recently, in fact, my 5-year-old daughter has now taken a liking to Beetlejuice. And now I'm sort of living vicariously being through, now a father, introducing Beetlejuice to my daughter. It just goes to show what kids now pick up are some of the old shows that you watched as a kid. But you know, Ginger as a tap dancing spider does look pretty good. She looks exactly like she does from the cartoon. Her arms, for some reason, though, are pulled back like this. They're actually touching the front of her legs. They don't seem to have any posability. In fact, while turning this, I feel, if anything, I'm just twisting the plastic. I'm going to break it right off. But I might see if I can actually heat this a little bit. Maybe not hot water, because I would actually be getting the rest of the legs all in hot water. But maybe take a hairdryer and see if I can bring those arms forward, because I really would like to have them forward, not far back the way they came in the packaging. But she's got some nice detailing. You can see a big smile on her face, very nice bright teeth, big pupil eyes. And of course, she does have these little eyebrows. Or are they supposed to be eyelashes? Either way, though, she has them on the top there. The paint's actually pretty good on this. There's a few little areas of where the black, unfortunately, has made its way onto the eyeball. But other than that, it's a really nice looking version of Ginger the Tap Dancing Spider. The thing about it, though, is all the other accessories, other than maybe just the hands and the beetle, I feel like this side are unnecessary. These sides are the things at least that make the most sense to me. Like the figure comes included with a couple of swappable hands. Right now he has gripping hands for really ideally holding the yellow bottle, the top hat, the cane, but he also comes a couple with more relaxed hands. One of the things notable about Beetlejuice from the cartoon is that he does have like the very ends of his fingers are actually his fingernails. It's kind of cool. Still though, I don't know why they had to do it in this like neon plastic. This pink plastic just does not make sense at all for Beetlejuice. But he comes with a couple of those hands. The figure also comes with also a would you call it a sophisticated hand? That's like a tea drinking hand because you can see the little pinky is up. That's because the figure also comes included with a tiny little beetle. Now, being that this hand is already designed for holding the beetle, you obviously can take the beetle and just wedge in between the fingers, and the thumb. Sort of like he's eating a delicacy. Technically as well, you could also use this hand for holding like the top hat. And it doesn't sit though as well. You really do want to use like these hands for the job. But I almost would say like if you're going to include a beetle, which so easily could be lost. In fact, if I'm not careful right now, see, I just jinxed it by saying that. If you're going to include a beetle and a hand, I would probably best describe as one for holding the beetle. Why wouldn't they actually have just not molded the hand to have the beetle already in there? Obviously, it's going to survive me shaking it, but if you bang it, you'd hate to lose the beetle. The beetle is actually nicely detailed. I think in the cartoon, though, it's a little bit more of a brown color. I'm just pulling a fiber off there. I don't know where that came from. I think, yeah, in the cartoon, the beetles are kind of more of an off greenish brown color. Not as bright this green as what we see here, but still nice to see that they included this. Of course, if you did want to swap the hands out, go ahead and take the arm that goes along with that hand. Just remove the peg carefully. And just pop that off. Probably not best advised to be doing this with the beetle, but we can go ahead and pop the hand back into place. And there, Beetlejuice now has the beetle that he can consume later. Or he can save it for later, as he usually would say. Again, like the thing that kind of confuses me the most is all the other things that we're going to be looking at accessory-wise. Like the figure comes included with a cane. Okay, yeah, he comes included with a cane. Cane is a softer plastic. It's all done here in black with the tip done in gold, like a yellow, and that same matching yellow on the end of the other side of the cane as well. And the figure can, of course, hold that in his hand too. The figure also comes included with a top hat. The top hat matches his jacket and his pants, being the fact that they're striped both in white and black. Technically, the hat, there is these little kind of indentations on the inside of the rim that you can actually have the hat sitting on his head. Not the most secure, though, because if you bang again the figure, the hat's going to fall right off. So, like, those indentations are probably just there so it doesn't scuff against the paint and doesn't chip off the end of the hair. And that's what Beetlejuice looks like with the hat. It just seems so out of place, doesn't it? And, of course, yeah, I probably would have kept the other hand in place to do this, but you can also have the hat in his hand, as I did at the beginning of this video. Although this really isn't the best hand to be doing that. Again, like, I don't know why they included these accessories, like a yellow bottle. The figure comes included with the yellow bottle for no reason whatsoever. If anything, if watching the cartoon, as I've now started to do all over again, I think that instead of actually using the plastic for the hat and the yellow bottle, and even perhaps the cane, I would have maybe used that plastic to create a TV set with that little skeleton advertiser, the salesman that always is selling something in the netherworld. That's what I would have used the plastic for instead of like these little knickknacks that serve no real purpose. I'm never going to display it with Beetlejuice. I'm never going to have the top hat in his hand, nor am I going to have it on his head. I just almost think it was unnecessary. Putting those things, though, to the side and getting a closer look, though, at Beetlejuice. You know, short of the fact that the coloring is clearly off, it's a nice sculpt of Beetlejuice's face. The teeth maybe perhaps aren't as gnarly as I would have liked, but they're nicely colored, at least in that dingier off-green color. The inside of his tongue, well, the tongue itself is purple, but actually, technically, the back of his mouth isn't, where you would have actually, if they had painted this more of a black, then the tongue would have been better, easier seen, because obviously in the cartoon, I think it's actually a purple tongue. Yeah, maybe changing the color of the inside of his mouth to black, obviously changing the very obvious point of changing the skin tone to more of a lighter violet white. It was white, and in many of the scenes it sort of had like a purple tint to it. But it certainly was not this color at all. Again, like the head sculpt is pretty good. I mean, it works well for Beetlejuice. And being that we really don't have a lot of Beetlejuice cartoon characters to work from, by virtue of that, by process of elimination, obviously, Loyal Subjects has done a pretty good job on Beetlejuice, but I always feel like in this case, there's room for improvement. I also noticed on this one, at least on mine, I can't speak for the others, but I notice on mine, the arm is really loose. This arm's not so bad, but this arm immediately getting out of the packaging was really excessively loose. I'm wondering if I could tighten that up a little bit. Of course, he does have his kind of off pinkish colored shirt. He's got the very loose tie. He does not feel the need to tie that up. And he's got the notable Beetlejuice stripes on his jacket. They're well here. They're decent on his sleeves, and they're decent also on his legs, providing you line up everything on the articulation point. We'll talk more about that in a second. But like there's a big area, a big gap here I've noticed here on the side where I almost feel like another swipe of white would have worked to finish off the jacket. Because certainly looking at it from the side, it looks like the jacket's not finished. It really needed one extra stripe of white right here. Again, the legs look pretty good, but you always have to have them articulated in such a way that you're lining up everything. As soon as you start twisting the leg, obviously it's going to break up. It's one of those unavoidable cases. You're going to break up the black and the white from lining up with one another. And he does have sort of his... I never really realized that Beetlejuice sort of had these weird high heel boots, but apparently he does. I think also there could be an opportunity too where they included a secondary head sculpt like they've done before with the Buffy, where maybe like the head could have had just a smiling face instead of one that looks like he's cackling. Would Beetlejuice cackle? I would suspect he would. Anyways, for the articulation on Beetlejuice, his head is on a ball joint in theory. I say in theory because it's really tight. You can have the head looking down only by a little bit. You can have it looking up, again, only by a little bit. And you can rotate it technically all the way around, but the length of his hair and the length of his chin and the size of his face, it really isn't going to allow you to be able to rotate the head all the way around. So if you did want to scare people by having Beetlejuice's head spinning around, you're not going to be able to do that. The arms do rotate all the way around. They seem to be only sitting on ball joints. And there's also like that socket joint that allows the arm to kind of hinge out backward, forward and backward that way as well. The figure has a double bend on the elbow. But the weird thing about the elbow bends is that while you can only bend it a single hinge joint, I almost feel like why wouldn't they have just committed to a single joint instead of a double joint? Because you can't really pull off. You can get to about there, but just the size of his sleeve prevents anything more than that. I guess really the double hinge allows his arm to come a little bit higher up if, again, he does want to savor some Beetle's delicacies. The upper torso is on a ball joint. There's no articulation from the lower part of his jacket because, of course, that's covering over his waist. His legs split out only just by a little bit. You can take the legs and move them forward and back. Of course, we've already talked about the fact he does have a swivel cut, allows the legs to rotate all the way around. Figure does have also a double hinge on the knee. And he also does have articulation in the boot. Again, as it being the only thing we really have as a cartoon Beetlejuice, I guess he does the job well enough. But there's things I have to again question. Why those accessories? Why, for example, we get Ginger the tap dancing clown and we don't dancing spider, and we don't actually get the sandworm that's provided on the back of the packaging? Again, I think that's last minute decision that they already had made the packaging. They probably thought to themselves, well, nobody's going to really want a little tiny baby sandworm. As cool as that does look, maybe something scaled better to Beetlejuice. We're using the same amount of plastic. Ginger the tap dancing spider. That's a hard one to say. Was probably the better idea to go with. Again, I just don't think these accessories, the bottle, the top hat, and the cane were really crucial to come include with Beetlejuice. I think if anything, mush all that plastic together, square it off, and in fact include the TV like he has, where you always see like that salesperson skeleton advertising something. I think that would have been a much better thing to come include with Beetlejuice instead of the accessories that they pack instead. So, if we are getting ourselves now a cartoon Beetlejuice from loyal subjects, is it safe to say as well that the company's going to be planning to release a Lydia down the road? Because, I mean, of course, the duo, you can't have Beetlejuice without Lydia and vice versa. I suppose as a runner-up prize, we do have ourselves a cartoon-accurate Ginger the Tap Dancing Spider, a much better improvement than the already advertised on the back of the packaging Sandworm. Sandworm looks good, but at the size of what I guess that thing would have been for an accessory, they probably also agreed it's way too small to come include with Beetlejuice, and if anything, anyone collecting the figure would say the same thing. I like that Sandworm, but why wouldn't they have included an accessory that was properly scaled to the Beetlejuice? And again, that's probably the reason why they switched to Ginger instead. As it certainly goes for final looks here, I've got the figure with the beetle in his hand, likely the way I'm going to be displaying the figure. All the other things that comes included with him, like for example the cane, the yellow bottle, and the top hat. Yeah, I mean, they're there, but I'm just going to be putting them back in the packaging. None of them are ever going to be making an appearance with Beetlejuice. I don't really think they're necessary. The plastic should have just been used and put towards a better cause. I'm not going to go and talking about the TV set again, but That's the obvious one I can think of right away. I mean, going back and watching the cartoon, there's many different things that Beetlejuice has done, but a lot of them is him turning into things. Not unless they could have included accessories of smaller things that Beetlejuice has turned into, like spray cans, like mosquitoes. Some of the recent episodes I've just watched recently with my daughter. Other than that, and the obvious one is that Beetlejuice is way too wrong of a color. The pink. It's close, but it's not the violet he's supposed to have in the cartoon. And again, I don't know why they decide. Maybe there was miscommunication between them and the factory that made this. Maybe there was a problem with the coloring of the plastic. I don't know. All I do know is, though, it's a decent-looking Beetlejuice, short of the few little shortcomings that it has, and the unnecessary accessories in many of the cases that came included with the figure should have been used for something else. Either way, though, if you guys are interested and would like to get your hands on the best action, that's BST, AXN, I sound like a cheerleader, head on over to Entertainment Earth's website. If you guys are interested to get Beetlejuice, you can click the link down below in the video description. Have you picked up Beetlejuice for yourself? Let me know down below in the comments section. And is that a cartoon that you used to watch as a kid? Let me know also down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this spookerific review, certainly hit it with a like. And if you're loving the content you're seeing and certainly want to stick around for more, well then, I've got a tale to tell you. It's a short tale. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button down below, and all you have to do is turn on the bell notification. Wow, that was a short tale. But there's definitely going to be a lot more spooky videos coming your way during the month, of course, of Spottober. That's just regular October. I like to think it's clever, and I just change Oct to Spot. We call it Spottober. There's definitely a lot more videos, though, coming your way, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.